Hang in there.
Initiating Operation Ak Canal debrief with Operator Morse.
Got it. Full review, right? You want me to put... Target down. Boarding.
Mission objective. Verify the contents of Hudson's cargo. Avoid direct engagement. Enemy support is positioned close by. You have 10 minutes.
Stand by the breach.
First floor, 3 units. 2 upstairs. We're compromised. Breach! Bob's your uncle. Got evidence.
All units, rally at the cargo bay entrance for evac. Now!
After confirmation of the Dark Star fuel, your signal died. Explain that.
Comms failed. It's documented in the report.
You weren't with the team. So where were you?
Bob's your uncle. Something's off. Checking it out.
All units, rally at the cargo bay entrance.
Unknown acoustic signature at 2 o'clock. Radar empty. Requesting permission to investigate.
Just heading at increased speed.
The sound's gone.
Torpedo inbound, bearing on 48!
Defensives are down! Torpedo range, 600 meters! 400 meters! 200!
Given your performance during the operation, Command has determined you are no longer fit for frontline deployment.
What's that sound?
Don't lie to me! This ship isn't carrying anything good! Got you, mate!
We're pulling out! I repeat, we're pulling out!
Hang in there.
Cargo was confirmed, exposing Hudson's operation. So what is it you're actually searching for? State your reason for joining GTI.
I'm looking for something. Something right in front of you. Something you cannot see.
all.
Can't I just have 5 minutes, please?
Everly, we've picked up abnormal acoustic signals in the Eastern Sea.
Just dolphins mating. It's that time of year, after all. You won't get away.
Luke Everly, codename Morse. Class, Recon. Morse is a former Navy acoustic intelligence specialist with deep expertise in maritime acoustic environments, making him highly skilled in the analysis and exploitation of sound waves and portable sonar equipment. As an operator, Morse excels in the use of his jammer, a portable sonic device that disrupts enemies by reducing their audio detection range. Morse's advanced sonar device emits sound pulses to scan for enemies, generating markers on their positions.
No more secrets! Jammer out! Queen flash! Sending jammer! Throwing delayed flash! Allied troops engaging. Searching for hostiles! Throwing delayed flash! Sending jammer! Throwing jammer!
Shh. The storm is coming.
Warning. Control system compromised.
You want to know how freedom is made? Patience. Violence. Struggle. Evolution. Transformation. Combat. Liberation.
Take Subject 42 alive.
Burstfest is behind us. The war isn't. No halftime. Stage 2 starts now. Kickoff. Log in daily and take home a weapon appearance, turbricks, and armament vouchers. Every day counts. First half, operations. The soccer wave is hitting Asara. White balls drop across maps. Pass to squad mates. Shoot at the goal. Or take on the soccer ratties roaming Zero Dam, Layali Grove, and Brackesh. Every play earns event coins you can spend on rewards. Dig for loot and you might pull a golden football or an iridescent football collectible. Loot and extract. Hit the hot zone. Rack up match time to earn mid-season EXP. Redeem it for the action, avatars, calling cards, and armament vouchers. Take down special soldiers and bosses. Search courier cartons and collect rice dumpling. Spend them on cosmetics or GOAT supply pack for limited red tier collectibles. Miss the UEG? No worries. Search storage boxes and it might just turn up. Second half, Warfare. Multiple updates. The fight doesn't stop. Vanguard Breakthrough is open. In attack and defend on trench lines in Cyclone. Receive the front line from the Vanguard squad and push from the follow-on area. Luck's Favor is back. Melee only. Zongzi drop on kills. Pick them up for health and speed. Capture the flag returns. Reworked. Secure your own flag before your team can score. Smaller map, fewer vehicles, more contact. Aero Clash returns. No required operators or weapons. The mode arms you automatically. Across all warfare modes, hit your kill and playtime milestones to earn mid-season EXP and redeem rewards. That's your mid-season update, operators. No halftime, more war.
Enemies, be alert!
Keep it down. I need to listen.
is on the target. Acoustic signatures match your mark signature with high accuracy.
Record their movements. I'll find them.
Target acquired. Staging retrieval.
I can't pinpoint their location.
Guess it's up to me then. The echo of truth cannot be silenced.
Reveal yourselves. Found you. Oh, shocking. I make my own luck.
Well, good morning or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome into the Delta Force Invitational Warfare EMEA Finals. I'm Goj, and I am very excited to be back with some more incredible warfare action, folks. This competition is some of the best warfare any of the West has ever seen, and I'm so excited to go through these finals of the qualifiers to get a team to land in China in just a few short weeks. We'll break it all down for you, but I gotta bring in my man Vivid back with me yet again. We had a chance to work together in Vietnam for DFIW, and now we're back for the qualifiers to send another team to China. Man, how you feeling?
Feeling good, Ghost. Yes, thank you so much for having me back. What is going on, Delta Force gang? And super excited to get into the action today. I can't believe we are already kind of back here again, once again having some of these qualifiers to have these teams have the opportunity to go ahead and qualify to a land. This time around, like Goj mentioned, going to China. So going to be very, very exciting to see what these teams have kind of prepared for the action today, and see if the nerves get the best out of anybody.
I don't know, man. These teams have been practicing, they've been repping, they've been scrimming. It's been craziness here in EMEA for what we're about to see as the two best teams in the region. Let's talk about this format, those for maybe some of those that maybe you haven't seen DFIW, you don't really know what's going on. It's warfare, folks, and well, frankly, everything's changed this time around. The general format will look similar, but we're now playing a best of 5. Now, all of our games, all of our matches will be played in Victory Unite mode. And we only have 2 teams, okay? We've got our championship teams trying to earn a spot to land. Now, in our Victory Unite 20v20, we've got our commander. The normal rules for Victory Unite apply, but we're playing a best of 5. So we've already gone through picks and bans. We'll talk a little bit about that here in a second. And we've already rolled our 2 maps that we will be playing certainly. However, whoever does better, if we do go to game 5, whoever does better will get a chance to choose whether they want to be side or map, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Now, in terms of the format, the group stages, there were qualifiers leading up to this stage, and in the group stages, they were all best of 3s. We had a bunch of groups, we had a bunch of teams in EMEA, we had a bunch of teams in the Americas region as well. And those teams had to make it to this stage. But here in the finals, it's the best of 5. Now, the winner of this competition, I've said it several times, Delta Force Invitational Warfare land in China in just a couple weeks. The winner today earns their spot there, and the team also earns $10,000. And then you can see our full map pool that we rolled from on the right. And the teams got a chance to ban a map each. So that's how it all works. It's a best of 5 today. I'm hoping we go to game 5 because that's just frankly way more exciting, Vivid. But we got to talk about the teams that made it to this stage.
Absolutely, we do. You're mentioning those best of fives, man. These can get a little crazy. Our first team up is, of course, going to be Reborn. And immediately off the rip goes, I go ahead and I see some names that I am familiar with, right? That we saw over in Vietnam, that we have seen play Warfare before. I'm speaking about, Uzbishka, definitely going to be some experience over there. But the great thing about this new way that the Warfare is kind of working, right, is the opportunity for all of these teams to go ahead and assemble their own 20-member of players. So honestly, looking through some of these names, some names that I'm unfamiliar with, but that's what makes this so awesome, is that we're going to be seeing some new talent, some talent that meshes a little bit better with some of these squads.
Yeah, no, it's a great shout. I do want to reiterate that point because it is so different. Let's take a look at the team stats of what this team was able to do in the qualifiers, in the group stages leading up to today. This team had a fantastic average attacking time. They go 4-0 in their games. They went 2-0 in both their matches. Frankly, they just won, and they won handedly. This is on paper the team that probably could win or should win today. Statistically, the best team in EMEA right now, stomping their group stages and making it to today. And I want to reiterate your point, Vivid. I want to remind everybody at home that didn't get a chance to watch any of the qualifiers on any of the player streams, and you're just tuning into today. This is the first time in EMEA that we've had a tournament of this caliber where every team had to register with an entire team of 20 plus subs plus coach, etc. So this is going to be the best Warfare you've ever seen in EMEA, and Reborn is at the top of the tally according to some of these stats, Vivid.
17-minute average attack time is absolutely absurd. Also, go ahead and mention that they are 4-0, so yet to be defeated. Going to be interesting here to see how they kind of match up here in the finals. Of course, this head-to-head matchup, land qualification on the line. Who are they going to be going up against here? It's going to be Reborn heading into it up against
There it
Big
is.
Boys.
Big Boys. Big Boys is a really fun roster as well. I think folks that have been in the EMEA Warfare scene know several of these names. Death Joker is going to be running as commander for this roster, but in general, they've got a lot of voices that are very loud. This is a fun roster because it's the kind of the opposite side of the coin as Reborn. We talked a little bit about Reborn and some of the names we recognize, and I can tell a little bit more about their story later, but that's a team that's been around the Warfare scene basically since the game dropped. This team is the exact opposite. They've got actually a lot of folks that are newbies to the Warfare scene. They've been grinding like crazy over the last 6 months or so, trying to prepare for this stage. They even played pro in a couple other different titles and came over to Delta Force and were like, no, this is where I want to kind of put my stake in the ground and make a land for maybe the very first time. But they played pro in other titles. They're playing together. And this is also a roster that is very wide and spread out all over the EMEA region, from folks in the Africa side of things up into the Europe side of things and everywhere in between. So this will be a fun roster to see if their chemistry and what they've been building over the last 6 months or so can pay off. Let's take a look at what happened in the group stages for them, though. Big Boys, a little bit different of a story. They had to work a little bit harder to get to this stage. They end up going 4-2, which means both their group stage games went 2-1. So they won in the final hour. They certainly got the ice, Vivid.
And shout out to Goj and the team of Big Boys for, doing a little bit of research and sending over some information. I was kind of reading through some of the stuff that Goj went ahead and picked up from the team themselves. And yeah, they seem like they're kind of new to Warfare, but they feel like they've picked it up very, very quickly. And they even went ahead and admitted that, hey, listen, after our first scrim against Reborn, it kind of felt like they got steamrolled, but they've actually picked up a lot more skill. They've improved, they feel like, a lot since that scrim ever happened, and they feel a lot more confident after they've beaten some other teams in the region as well. So coming into the day, they have that in the back of their minds where they're like, hey, listen, we've played these guys before. It feels like we got steamrolled, but they're feeling a lot more confident. They feel like they've honed their skills a lot more, and you can kind of see it here game record wise. 4-2 again. Goj kind of talked about it. Some hurdles for them as opposed to the team of Reborn, right, who are undefeated. So they've taken some L's over here on this side of things, which sometimes can actually kind of help you out, right? You're used to, you have the experience of losing but still coming out on top, which I would assume today, watching this head-to-head matchup, that both of these teams are probably going to be taking a loss at some point. So being able to actually handle that and mentally reset is important as well. Average attack time, I feel like the difference there is huge, right? Like, I feel like Reborn, statistically speaking, I would be a little bit afraid of them if they're on the attacking side, which is, we've had this conversation a lot, Goj. defense usually seems a little bit easier, but I don't know. We've mentioned that before on live, and I don't know if we've ever really actually been proven right.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think in like, you know, play of this level, it's a little bit more equal than what it feels like in pubs, obviously. But I think the big question is the maps that we rolled and the bans that happened. So this is a huge question mark because these teams could have strengths and weaknesses on these maps. Let's take a look at it, folks. We're headed to Ascension to start, a crowd favorite, certainly. And then we're going to Cyclone. For reference, by the way, we did not see one single game or map of Cyclone played in the entirety of either regional qualifiers. This is a surprise. We've got a big ban here from Reborn on Aftershock. They've been banning that through the entirety of the group stages, and then Big Boys have been banning Fault most of the time as well. So they have both the maps that they believe they are the weakest on out of the map pool, but we roll Ascension into Cyclone. What do you think of these polls?
Yeah, I mean, Cyclone's one of those maps that, yeah, it was one of those newer maps, kind of, and you were kind of mentioning how in the qualifiers for this, I haven't really seen it. I swear in like past competitions, the map has been very, very scarce. Like, it just like never gets picked. So even though we have seen it before, it's very, very rare. So I'm excited to kind of check out Cyclone. And then, you know, we have Ascension. We have seen some absolutely incredible moments on Ascension. Very, very excited to kind of jump into that map because I feel like that is one of those maps that anybody that's kind of jumped into Warfare, you're very, very used to it. Whether you're kind of a player that's been playing for a long time, of course, being one of those maps that has been in the game. But yeah, I mean, just super, super excited. Both these maps, of course, are going to be featuring a lot of vehicles. So be on the lookout for anything strategic kind of going on with those vehicles.
Yeah, agreed. This is going to be very vehicle heavy on both of these maps. And frankly, air superiority, we talk about it often, Vivid, like you were mentioning, is going to be a blast to watch to see who can take control of the air. Because especially in group stages, we actually saw a lot of Cracked, which doesn't have any air at all. And so because of that, I think some of these teams will have to kind of lock in and get ready to hopefully take control of the air, and maybe that'll give them an advantage on the map. Now, Vivid, as we are hopping into the games and we're about to get into Ascension to start things off, I do believe it's going to be Big Boys on the attack, by the way, if I saw that correctly, and is going to be Reborn on the defense. They will then swap folks at home. Again, this is a best of 5, so we will see both maps, but we could see a team technically go 3-0 and close it out quite quickly, attacking, defending, and then attacking, or vice versa. So we'll keep you updated on all of those metrics. And of course, if we do go to Game 5, we'll break down how that priority pick works. It's fairly simple, but we'll break it all down for you if we get there. We got to get there though first, Vivid, and I think this Ascension map to start things off is going to set the tone for how today is going to play. Is it going to be extremely aggressive? Is it going to be a little bit slower strategic play from some of these teams? I don't know, but what I do know about Ascension is that, let's just say, you better get through the first point quickly, because all of a sudden it can be brutal. You and I watched a ton of Ascension on land in Vietnam. Biggest things we recognize is, 1, what can the helicopter do early? And then can you save it for late game? And then 2, if you do get stalled out on A long enough and you do get your tank out on A, can you keep that alive on high ground? Because if you don't, could be disaster to kick things off. So some big metrics to watch out for. Vehicle gameplay, obviously, very, very important on Ascension.
Yeah, absolutely. I can already tell you right now, you know, I feel like the team of Reborn is being talked up a little bit right now. I feel like they are the favorites kind of coming into this matchup. So I have my eyes peeled over towards their way. And I feel like the fact that they are starting on the defensive side of things, right, they're probably going to be a little bit more comfortable. Again, probably a favorable side, whether or not, you know, it's 50-50 or however it kind of breaks down. I feel like you as a player are probably just a little bit more comfortable on the defensive side of things. So I feel like Reborn, pressure should be on them here, right? Because it kind of feels like they are the favorites coming into this one, especially like I already mentioned, Big Boys kind of mentioning earlier on that, yeah, we've scrimmed these guys before and they kind of steamrolled us. So it's going to be all up to Big Boys in terms of that preparation, right? They know what Reborn is capable of. How have they kind of prepared for this matchup, and have they had enough time to go ahead and take down a powerhouse like Reborn? I'm excited to kind of figure it out.
Me too, man. Ascension is going to be a blast. And look, I will say too, one thing about Ascension that is fun to talk about is many of the top level players believe that Ascension on attack can actually be easier if you catch that momentum early. So we'll keep an eye out for that as well. If Big Boys can get some momentum, all of a sudden we might see Reborn, who is technically on paper the team that has the advantage here according to the statistics. If they get caught unaware, all of a sudden you see Big Boys making a huge push at the very first map. But They're just going to set the tone. Players about to get started. I believe our lobby's about to get started. And Vivid, any words of wisdom for our players before we load into our very first map?
Gosh, any words of wisdom? Listen, first match for me, it was always about getting the jitters out, right? I feel like Warfare, you have a lot of time in the match, right? So maybe like consider like the first point, that opportunity to go ahead and get those jitters out. But after that, man, you got to go ahead and lock in, stick to kind of what you know, right? These teams, again, like Goj mentioned earlier, over here on the EU region, they've had the opportunity to put together these 20-man rosters, which means that, you know, they should have been kind of talking with all of these guys, scrimming, having the opportunity to kind of play together a lot and figure out strategies, figure out what kind of works for everybody. Stick to what you guys have known, stick to what you guys have prepared, because, you know, that's where you're going to be the most comfortable. That's where you're going to be the most efficient. So obviously, you know, if things aren't going your way, hopefully you have like a backup plan or anything like that. But yeah, you guys prepared for this. You guys know what is going to be happening around on the map, and just kind of stick to what you know, like I said.
Well, my words of wisdom is we've got to keep our eyes on the commander. The commander's got to have clean comms. If you don't know, for Victory Unite, I do want to explain it to you. There is a commander. It is selected at the very beginning of the game. That commander has a lot of power, not only comms to all players, which of course all of the players are in voice comms together already, but also earns extra score that they can use towards different ways to help their team. Of course, one that Vivid and I will be shouting out quite often because it pops up on screen very often is the urgent redeployment. Can reduce those spawn timers that are fairly lengthy in Victory Unite. So keep an eye out for those, as well as team respawn beacons and a couple other things that you can call in vehicles or otherwise. So watch out for that. But folks, if you're just tuning into Delta Force for the very first time, you're like, Warfare? It has an esports? Yeah, it does. And it's really dang cool. Go get your hands on the game. Make sure you download it. It's for free. It's literally all over the place on every single platform you can think of, including mobile. Delta Force is super sick. And I gotta say, Warfare Esports is a blast. But as we go to Ascension, we have the most cinematic start that we ever get in any of these maps. Vivid, we got to see the boats come flying in.
Absolutely. It is a crazy start, right? Storming the beach, going to go ahead and attacking that sector A, which is of course going to feature just one singular flag over there. So obviously everybody's going to be conjured around one singular point. I will say though, we do see a lot of the times the defensive side of things try to go ahead and claim a stakehold up on the hill to the left. But here we go. We're starting off things, and like Coach mentioned, the boats are out and ready. The beach is under attack, and Reborn, they have to defend sector A for as long as they can.
If you haven't watched Delta Force Esports here with Warfare in a while, you do see we've got new overlays. So you'll see vehicle counters at the bottom of the screen whenever we're on that free cam POV. That'll be very helpful to denote who's got what. Of course, a lot of boats, but we're going to be starting off with our tank on the far side. Hopefully they're able to keep that alive. And already you see it looks like Linner is up in the helicopter there for Big Boys.
Absolutely. You kind of mentioned it earlier on. The importance of that aerial support is pretty much all of the difference here. The attacking side can keep their helicopter alive for not only this first sector, but the majority of the map. That's what can kind of find that momentum that you were kind of talking about, that some of these pro players feel like they need on a map like Ascension. So kind of keep an eye up on the feed, see how much value that helicopter is getting. And Reborn is going to have one thing in their mind as well, taking that helicopter out. We've seen some interesting strategies before around like, hey, tank versus helicopter. How does a helicopter kind of stay alive? Does a helicopter even really try to find any value on this first sector, or do they feel like it's more valuable to go ahead and try to save its health entirely for some of the future sectors? And well, as I'm going ahead and mention that, Jinxed Jill with an incredible shot out of the helicopter, actually, or out of the tank, takes out the helicopter. So the attacking side is already left without a helicopter.
Yeah, bad news. Now, folks, again, if you see red, they're the attackers, okay? And if you see green, that's going to be the defense the entirety of this match. They will, of course, swap sides in the next one. But starting things off here, this is a fun note about Ascension. Because you have these boats to start things off, you can technically stay inside of them if you don't feel like you need boots on the ground to actually take the point, and you can shell over towards A. But right now, the attackers, their only job is to maintain complete control of the high ground, and losing air superiority, they could be in trouble. Victory Unite, though, Vivid, we need to remind the viewer, you start with much lower tickets than you do in normal pubs. 180 to start. And yes, we've been playing for a while, but at this level, medics go insane. We have only lost 4 lives.
Yeah, super impressive stuff for the attacking side here to only lose 4 lives. And I know 2 of those was actually out of the helicopter. So it feels like they've only actually lost like 2 boosts on the ground. So that means they are sticking together. But whenever we kind of check out that wide view of the map right now, if any of our viewers at home are kind of paying attention, there is literally, I don't think there's a single player on the defensive side or the attacking side that's actually in Sector A. Like, there's just nobody over there. But that is because the screaming importance of this hill that actually overlooks Sector A, because the control over this hill feels like this is what actually makes a difference, determining who can actually defend and or attack that sector. So just a giant fight off to the side of the sector, but it's all about the vantage point.
Yeah, 100%. That's a good breakdown. The height is everything, and then making sure you still have a vehicle presence up on height without losing it is very important as well. We've seen the tank take quite a bit of damage. All of our squads have designated roles on these teams, right? So you've got your engineers, you have the folks that are dedicated to vehicle gameplay, you have your support, your medics. Everybody is delineated, everybody has a role. Some folks have a role specifically for one map. These teams all have up to 5 subs, and some of these substitutes have very specific roles on specific maps that are rolled as well. So you could see some of their substitutes not even play today because they're not playing in a map that they're maybe like an aficionado on. So some fun notes there. We do see the helicopter respawn for the attack. So they've lost a bit of life. They've lost a bit of momentum. They're still trying to kind of struggle to get out of spawn and take full control of this high ground. But helicopter back in the skies, need to make sure they protect it this time around.
Absolutely. And it's going to kind of be about trying to apply pressure to the tanks from the attacking side here, right? Because if you kind of pay attention, the tanks that are on the side of Reborn, they're like miles, it feels like, away from the sector, right? So obviously anybody that's on the attacking side can't really physically get to those tanks. As you can see off in the distance is kind of where those vehicles are kind of poised up, and you're going to kind of have this battle that's going to be going on between those vehicles, right? The helicopter is going to be trying to, you know, nip towards some damage towards some of those vehicles, so that way they can't do damage to them. But it kind of like null and voids the usage of those vehicles for both sides. As you can see here, a little bit of an early push going on towards that A sector, but does fall short pretty quickly. And it does kind of look like Big Boys have a little bit of control over the hill, but not enough for them to actually make a push towards the sector just yet.
Yeah, they're able to keep both vehicles alive, at least for now. It does look like one is going down finally for the Big Boys, as look at those Allura rockets go insane. That's Lolsiv picking up a quad piece with it, picking up the entire tank and everybody in it. Very well executed. Kind of a classic strategy to have a lot of engineers, a lot of Allurus that can throw their rockets down to basically get that chip damage into the tank, where that final AT4 or vice versa is able to actually take down the vehicle before the engineers can get any heals off, or repairs off rather. So a big pickup by Reborn, and as much as it feels like Big had control of the high ground for a moment, they've completely let this slip away. I don't want to mince words here. Reborn is obliterating Big Boys right now. They have complete control now of the hill. They have the rock that is kind of the edge you can play for cover up there. They've got all of their vehicles on the backside shelling the point if anybody goes over there, and shelling the backside of this hill. And if anybody, including the helicopter, even looks their way, all fire turns that direction. Big Boys got to make a huge move right now.
I actually saw that a little bit of a change of strategy. It looked like they were setting every single one of their players on the side of Big Boys towards this hill, and a little bit of a change of direction for, I think it was like 1 or 2 squads, where they actually went off to the right side of the sector and kind of came in. As you can see over there, they pushed onto the point now, and they're actually capturing it quite quickly. Now what this is going to do is, I wouldn't be surprised if Reborn was able to actually hold off this push, right? Get onto the point and actually defend it, but they're going to have to put bodies on the point to actually do so, which is going to give the opportunity for Big Boys to take over the hill in its entirety. As you can see, right, they're trying to push and pull. It's like, hey, listen, Big Boys, yeah, you guys can have sector A, but we're going to make a push towards some of the, you know, other quote-unquote objectives on the map, that being some of these positions. As you can see, the Reborn defense is coming in, like I already mentioned, but now Big Boys has to take advantage. They know that Reborn has thrown all of their bodies towards the sector. That's how they are defending it right now, so you have to find value elsewhere. They've got to go ahead and take over this hill right now, or I kind of fear for how good Big Boys can even potentially do on the rest of this map, if they can even capture it.
Well, this is bad news if you're Big Boys fans, because that was a great push to kind of relieve some pressure, like you said. In the meantime, big shout out to our observing team. We're able to pick up that Store Life AT4 kill on a tank for Big Boys. So the Big Boys lose their tank again and gonna have to wait out the score to get it back on the map. I believe they've got a loft down below, if I saw that correctly. I'll have to double check that. But that's it. No, I mean, Store Life is just running around in the attack vehicle, rolling up on fights and making sure everybody falls any way he looks. A great player, has been playing in a lot of our competitions over the last couple years here with Delta Force, and is now really trying to make his way back onto the land stage in China with an early start here. But we've got a nice regain, a nice push here from Big Boys. They're sending everybody to the point, but they're still being stifled. They're not even able to get it through 50% cap.
Yeah, that bar is showing almost entirely green, which means that there are just more bodies on the point right now for the defensive side of things. Now, a metric that we always use in Warfare is around 80 tickets is what I remember it being if after you capture a sector is what you were kind of replenished with, right? So, you know, remember, Goj kind of mentioned you start with 180 tickets. Right now, we are down to 120 tickets. So, ultimately speaking, if Reborn can kind of get these tickets down to 100 or any lower than that, then they're winning, right? This was kind of a win for them because the attacking side is going to go into the next sectors with less than the maximum amount of tickets that they could possibly have. So keep kind of an eye on the amount of lives that are going to be available for the attacking side of things.
No, it's a really good shout, Fit. I think in this moment where both teams are beginning to breathe for a second and Big will regain and re-push here, that's the metric for success. If you can get them below triple digits, it's going to be a win going to the next sector. But the other wins you're looking for, if you're Reborn fans, is not only get them below 100, but also make sure they're not moving to the next sector with X amount of vehicles, right? We want to make sure they don't have every vehicle under the sun. You know, Architect in attack vehicle like this, really not going to do a lot. This Solvia will be able to at least put people onto the point quickly, which is a nice win. But other than that, it's not going to do a ton of damage for the team, which means they're really hurting for resources and score right now.
Absolutely. And I mean, even just in that short little spell, the last time that I mentioned it, I mean, like 10 lives have been lost. And this was kind of a team that when we first started out the map, we were kind of praising them for how well they were doing at not losing tickets, which basically means that their medics were doing an incredible job of finding those revives when possible. But I'm not going to lie, as you can see right here, Funk in the tank. This is probably one of the most advanced positions I have actually ever seen on Ascension from a tank. Usually, the defensive side loves to value these tanks. They actually want to take these tanks into the next following sectors. Not even Sector B, but Sector C. So they actually almost never get it involved in the fight. But this guy is almost where they spawn with this tank right now. So a very offensive position. And this is probably why some of those lives are feeling like they dwindle, because this position is probably finding so much value in terms of, you know, finding some of those kills.
Yeah, well, I love what you called out there with the vehicle so pushed up, but you could see it on the map. I love that new map feed we have where you can see all of the dots for both teams, because you see how congested the attack is of prioritizing this high ground position that we've been hyping up this entire time. It's super helpful, but you got to get control of it so that you can then take the point. They've been kind of jogging back and forth and not able to get complete control. They're trapped on the high ground, but any advantage they feel like they can get from it, they haven't been able to execute with a big push over to the point. It needs to happen soon, and it looks like they're finally making the move now.
Absolutely. As you can see right there in the middle of the screen, contesting the A sector kind of pops up right there. So once again, you know, this is not surprise, because Big Boys they can kind of sneak a couple of bodies onto the point without Reborn kind of, you know, being aware of that, because Reborn isn't necessarily playing a lot of bodies on the point. We have officially entered double digits in terms of tickets left. So as you can kind of already count it, Reborn have kind of won Sector A, because they have forced Big Boys to use enough tickets to where they will not fully replenish to go into the subsequent sectors. Now, of course, that is if Big Boys can even capture Sector A, and I'm not going to lie, goes right now, I think it is not looking good. I think Reborn might actually hold this defense.
Yeah, they're doing a fantastic job. You see Store Life try to grab our AA gun and maybe shell some of these boats off in the distance. I'm wondering if maybe a couple more bodies rather than shelling from a distance in these boats could help. I'm not sure it'll make a huge difference, but you never know. A couple more engineers, maybe with a couple more rockets. What I like from Reborn though is they've got a push going right now on the point. They now have complete high ground. and they've kept these 3 vehicles from Reborn way back in the backside of the map. So Big Boys is making a nice push, but Reborn is kept control of the vehicle advantage. Reborn in a much more powerful position. As long as they don't let a sneaky cap go off, Reborn's got this in the bag, like you said.
Yeah, absolutely. As you can see right here from the perspective of the Looney here, Otter, he like peeks over the hill and he looks to his right, tank. He's like, all right, well, maybe I shouldn't look that way. Looks over to his left, 2 tanks, 2 vehicles to kind of pay attention to. So just so much control right now on the side of Reborn. And, you know, I was kind of oohing and ahhing when we kind of got that wide view, because I was like, oh, whoa, Big Boys, they actually have control over that big kill that we have been talking about since the start of the game. But again, Reborn was still able to go ahead and defend the point for a majority of that time, and they have still yet to handle any of these vehicles. Now, once again, we do see a big push coming in from Big Boys right now. They're going to try to throw all of the bodies onto the point right now and just see if they can overwhelm the defensive side of things. But in an absolutely well-timed rebuttal, Reborn seemingly does the exact same thing. They start to invest some of their vehicles. And as you can see right there, Funk is once again on those front lines. But it's kind of like teetering back and forth on the point right now. But it looks like Reborn have regained.
This is a really big fight. Again, you're right. Big Boys with a nice push, but Reborn swarms a point, sacks one of their vehicles. In the meantime, by the way, Lolsiv pulls in a tank destroyer that's going to be on the backside of this fight. So if it stalls out long enough, you should see that Lolsiv tank destroyer come swinging around the outside and at least shell either the tank up top or the boat in the water so that they don't have as much support. There it is. Tank destroyer swings up the backside and just starts cleaning up the bodies on the point. All of a sudden, the attackers' numbers are looking a lot more thin than this Reborn defense.
Yeah, and a big part of this attack is kind of feeling comfortable on the backside of this rock right here, where it's kind of hard for some of the defensive members to actually find their way over here, which is why Goj was kind of speaking to the importance of that vehicle. It can kind of wrap around and just take out the entirety of the attack. And look at this. You're taking a look at that sector right now, all green. There's not a singular red body towards that point. And because that entire wipe came out, right, because you were able to eliminate every single one of the Big Boys that was on that sector, nobody can get a res off. And the ticket, they took an absolute plummet right there. I think when they kind of started that attack, it was towards the numbers of like 90. They're now at 60.
Yeah, this is brutal. And again, big shout out to Lolsiv for a hero play on the backside with the tank destroyer, and very well timed as well from, I believe, Lolsiv, or actually Lolsiv with at the commander position, being able to call that in with the extra score that he has earned on the back, swings in, makes a hero play with the tank destroyer, cleans up the numbers, and the defense are able to retake here. And we don't even lose it and transition. I do believe the defense lost 1 vehicle, but only 1, and in the meantime, they've been able to replenish with 2. Here's the big difference with these 2 teams right now. Besides, it looks like a little bit more well-timed pushes from this Reborn roster. The other thing is that the defense is just earning so much more score that they're going to have more and more value coming in from their commander, who's able to call in things like tank destroyers, call in urgent redeployments. We actually noticed a moment ago, Vivid, we were talking about a big push, so I didn't want to call it out. We actually noticed the attackers miss out on a command. Reminder, these commanders, they issue orders, and if you complete that order, you earn extra score. So we've got Jinx Jill here on the back, looking for a little bit of value, but this is looking like a Reborn victory, especially if they just pick up even the boat in the water. I don't think he is able to get quite there, but this is utter domination.
Yeah, Ranger has been able to kind of keep that boat alive. I'm not entirely sure how much value he's necessarily found. It's hard to kind of put a statistical number on it because the boat is kind of there to try to pressure off some of these tanks. But as you can see right here from the POV of Lemon, I mean, what pressure is this tank really feeling right now? He is literally just feeling like it's sitting out in the open on a hill, perched up, and it's just raining down fire, kind of cutting off some of these rotations. And now that Reborn have obviously re-secured the sector itself, but
jeez,
they've also re-secured the hill that we put so much value on. I mean, I don't know what Big Boys can do right now. It kind of just feels like a formality to finish this one out.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, this is exactly what you and I talked about right before we started this drop, right? Like, go back to what we were talking about. We said this point A, if you don't kind of capture it quickly, things can spiral out of control very fast. And that's exactly what happened. They couldn't get the momentum off the top hill. They couldn't, any of their pushes to try to give them breathing room over to the point were met in kind with numbers. Reborn win all of those engagements. All of a sudden, Reborn have way more score and can call in tank destroyers like Lolsev was able to get as many vehicles as they need. They've sacked a couple vehicles and immediately replenished them. And once they have that much momentum, it's hard to beat them, especially when a tank destroyer is able to get that aggressive, that active on the front lines and not die. Big shout out to Lolsev. I'm also seeing John the Bomb in the kill feed quite a bit, who has been a big difference maker in events like this. So, yeah, this is a strong roster, and they're proving why they're the top dog.
30 tickets remaining. There is one big push here coming in from the big boys. We did see that map view where a lot of red was actually overtaking some of this hill right now, and they are going to be investing into this push once more with a tank of their own. So a little bit of hope here, but you know, again, they're kind of fighting for positions that have nothing to do with the actual objective itself. So it's going to cost them something to go ahead and retake this hill right now. And then after that, I mean, how many tickets are they actually going to have available? As you can see, Funk's actually going to be taking the zipline up. I have absolutely no idea why he's doing that, because
I think they're trolling. I think they're hanging out. I think they're just having a good time here, Vivid. They know they've got it in the
There's
bag.
probably some weird thing that he's going to do, some strat or something like that.
Use Bishka, by the way, with the extra help of the Allura rocket, actually cleans up the tank of the attackers. So any momentum they've got is completely gone, and this is just a matter of finishing out the map and making sure we don't scam at the end. Big shout out to Use Bishka, a great player in Delta Force in general, actually played in China in the operations side of things on land. So trying to go back to China in the other category. So he can do it all.
So it looks like Funk actually went all the way up there to get the tank. I'm assuming they called in a tank all the way up there. Again, it's like a mile away from the point, so it looks like he's just having fun. He might just start shooting some shells from all the way across the map. And yep, there it goes. Actually, this is a great POV here for Funk, right? Because we're kind of talking about the value of that hill. That hill actually finds a lot of value because it's kind of perched, right? You can kind of hide some of your vehicles, some of your players, but Funk with this tank all the way up here, look at his sight view. He can see the whole entire hill. You can see all the little ants running down there, and he's just getting free shots on the entire push from big boys. I mean, Reborn, they just have it all, man. They have full control over the defensive side.
As well, we got urgent redeployment for the defense. We've got artillery strikes landing on the point. Whatever push you think you're going to make with the final 10 lives, it isn't going to happen. Fantastic hold from Reborn. They've scrimmed this map 1,000 times. It's been in the game since the alpha. It is the first map in the game this in crack. And Ascension, it goes to Reborn on the defense in an unbelievable, monumental victory for Reborn to kick things off. What a way to start things off as the top dog to continue to prove why you're the best in the game. A hold on A on Ascension. Reborn up 1-0, Vivid.
Yeah, very convincing 1-0, by the way. I mean, me and Goj, we have watched a ton of Warfare, played a ton of Warfare. Speaking about, you know, watching it specifically, I think there's been like maybe one other time where I can remember a Sector A was held, and I don't even think it was on Ascension itself, right? Ascension is usually a gimme for that first sector right there. So Reborn just showing us something new here and showing us like full confidence, full control over that first sector.
Yeah, I think gimme might be a slight stressor at this level, but you're right. We don't see it very often. I think it's a good shout out that, like, if you can't get through A and Ascension, it, I think, came down to a team chemistry issue. It looked like maybe Reborn was just a bit more pristine in their callouts. The entire team was moving as a unit, whereas Big Boys really couldn't get anything going on the high ground. We're slightly split. We had folks still shelling from the water, which I think is the right play to force the tanks to at least look your direction. But either way you look at it, they couldn't get the value out of the vehicles that they wanted. And then once they lost the momentum, any momentum that they had, Reborn just put the pedal to the metal, Vivid, and they just kind of stomped their opponent out. That's the way things go. If you let A get out of control, Ascension can go one-sided very quickly. So a nice win from Reborn. They start things off 1-0. Good news if you're Big Boys fan. This is a best of 5. It will not end here if Reborn go back-to-back. If they win on defense and attack, it is a best of 5. You got to win 3 maps, so we'll at the very least make sure we see Cyclone. Let's watch back that map, though, and see what we can tell extra in our replays and our highlights. Vivid, break it down for me. Anything you spot in these highlights. Obviously, it kicked off with the boats storming the beaches, but they didn't get much further than the beaches.
Yeah, they didn't get much further than the beaches, and it did not get much further than the first minute of the match from their helicopter as well. An early takedown from the side of Reborn pretty much freed up the skies for them to feel a little bit more free. Of course, we do know that second helicopter did come in shortly after and was also short-lived. So full aerial control for the side of Reborn, even though they themselves do not have any aerial vehicles on this side. And listen, both teams kind of knew, they kind of came into this with a strategy. They knew the importance of that little hill that sits off to the side of Sector A. So we had this constant battle that was going on for it. And a couple of times, big boys did actually go ahead and, you know, find themselves in control over it. But as soon as they kind of left the hill to push towards Sector A, that hill was quickly reclaimed by the side of Reborn, and some cool little strategies from the likes of Funk here as well, showing us towards the end of that first map what is actually up their sleeve, man. We only got to see a couple of cool things from the first sector. I would hate to see, or I would actually love to see, what Reborn has prepared, you know, in some of those other sectors. They got cool little strategies like that, but we're not going to be able to see that when they win early games like that.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe we'll see it on attack, because if Reborn wants to go up 2-0 early, which would be a huge boon for this series, they got to take every single point all the way to the finish line, all the way to maybe bringing the tower down on our last point on Ascension. You can do whatever you want. We've seen some wild stuff on that end point on land last year, with overtimes going underground. It's crazy. So you never know. I will say, big boys, they assured me in their chat, they said, don't worry, coach, we got this. We're going to win it. Don't worry. And I was like, all right, man, I'm loving it. I'm here for some good competition, so I'd love to see it as well. But folks, I believe we're going to let some scores percolate on the back end. We know who won. The only thing that truly matters is record. But in general, it's record first. And then if we get to some tiebreakers for game 5, we'll talk about scores and attacking times and how many points and all of that good stuff. So excited to see what these teams are able to do. Vivid, before we move into the next round, let's talk a little bit about what we can expect from Reborn, right? It doesn't really matter if they just get further. They have to win here. So talk to me about, once you get through A and you go to B, what's the big thing that we got to pay attention to B and C, especially when the teams start going up the zip line and we kind of change the entire battlefield going CQB?
I feel like B is just all about the momentum, right? It kind of feels like, you know, once you capture A, you probably have a strong enough foothold to go towards B. But yeah, C is where it gets a little bit freaky, right? When you kind of have to go all the way up that zip line. We see the usage of the elevator for some of our vehicles to kind of, you know, transport themselves from some of those early sectors to some of those later sectors, right? Start to get inside of that cave that does sit up towards the top of that mountain. We've seen some very cool strategies revolved around, you know, keeping some of those vehicles alive. But yeah, I feel like A and B are a little bit more of kind of like the same. Obviously, B does feature 2 separate flags, but it's going to be about, you know, again, maintaining some of those positions on top of the hills that kind of sit offset of that B flag. And then, yeah, C is where it always gets interesting. We've seen some super cool stuff, right? People dropping in towards the top of that mountain out of some of the helicopters and stuff. So it gets crazy on Ascension. We'll have to see what some of our teams have prepared for it.
Well, let's see what Reborn's able to do on attack, folks. We're going to take a very short break here in the booth. When we come back, we'll have some scores to take a look at, see who are the top fraggers, and then, of course, we'll get a chance to see Reborn on attack. Don't go anywhere.
Enemies, be alert!
Can't I just have 5 minutes, peace?
Everly, we've picked up abnormal acoustic signals in the Eastern Sea.
Just dolphins mating. It's that time of year, after all. You won't get away.
Luke Everly, codename Morse. Class, Recon. Morris is a former Navy acoustic intelligence specialist with deep expertise in maritime acoustic environments, making him highly skilled in the analysis and exploitation of sound waves and portable sonar equipment. As an operator, Morris excels in the use of his jammer, a portable sonic device that disrupts enemies by reducing their audio detection range. Morse's advanced sonar device emits sound pulses to scan for enemies, generating markers on their positions.
No more secrets! Jammer out! Queen flash! Sending jammer! Throwing delayed flash! Allied troops engaging. Searching for hostiles! Throwing delayed flash! Sending jammer! Throwing jammer!
Shh. The storm is coming. Keep it down. I need to listen.
Welcome back to the Delta Force Invitational Warfare EMEA Finals, folks. It is currently 1-0 to the side of Reborn over the big boys. We've got a new squad versus a veteran roster, and so far the vets took it to them in the very first map, man. Holding on A on Ascension. I'm excited to see what Reborn can do on attack.
Extremely convincing hold there, and I'm not gonna lie, Goj, they do look good on the defensive side of things, but I feel like I'm a little bit more worried about how dominant they can be on the attacking side of things. Coming into today's competition, we were, taking a look at some of the stats for both of these teams, and the average attacking time for Reborn is 17 minutes, and very, very scary stuff there.
Yeah, average attacking time is 17 minutes. Technically, on paper, the team that they're playing right now is a stronger team, so maybe they can hold them for, at the very least, a little bit longer. But let's take a look at some of the score lines from that last map and see who some of our top fraggers were. We'll be able to see a little bit more about their positions on the map, whether they were engineers, whether they were medics, etc. Let's take a look at it, because I'm pumped to see what our overall tallies will be for the teams. We know, of course, Reborn won, and we know Uzbishka was throwing it down. I didn't know he was throwing it down like that, though. 48 total kills when you hold a team on A is wild, Vivid.
I'm not gonna lie, yeah, incredible stuff from the side of Reborn. Obviously, we know how well they did. I do want to go ahead and put an emphasis on just how many revives were found on the side of Big Boys. Cow. We were kind of talking about it, and we were like, yeah, I mean, they must be getting a lot of those medics, kind of finding some value over there, but I'm looking at some numbers over here, right? Like 72 is obviously pretty good. You going down the list there are a lot of numbers you can go ahead and add up. I don't know what total amount of revives were actually found, but this is almost like a stat line in terms of revives that I would necessarily expect to see in some of our past competitions over the course of like a full map. You know what I'm saying? There are so many revives actually found on just one singular sector hold right now. Now, of course, it did go the distance for that entire sector. But great job from Big Boys, right? Obviously, it feels like they got dominated because, you know, ultimately they did, but, you know, they were playing pretty well.
Yeah, no, 72 revives on a map that you get held on the first point. You were doing the most. I mean, you did about all you could from a medic category to keep your lives up, to be able to battle for A for that long. So I totally agree. It was a fairly long game, actually, for a hold on A. But a big shout out to Uzbekistan. Even on the defensive side, Mirsky picking up 55 revives and then 57 there from Baxter. Star Baxter has been a pretty strong player for this roster in the past. Actually went over as a sub in Vietnam for the last DFIW for the No Mercy team that went over there. And then you see Yellow Love there, DF Yellow Love, who was a gentleman I was talking to before the broadcast to giving me the lay of the land of this team. Number 6 overall in score. But yeah, overall, I mean, everybody did great, but definitely some top fraggers, top medics. You'll be able to tell how much value those people are getting based on those raw datas. And then you can see everything else in between. Usually, traditionally speaking, you see commanders have quite a bit of score line and will jump up the leaderboard dramatically because of that. So we'll keep an eye out for that as well for both of our commanders. But Jinx Jill, the commander for the Reborn team, does end up making it to the top 3 with only 9 kills because their goal was to call in those commands, their orders. They get the score based on their team fulfilling those orders. And well, Reborn was fulfilling every single order that they could get their hands on.
Absolutely there. You know, we do often see the commander finding the top spot a lot of the times score-wise. So it kind of just speaks to how good of a performance we had out of those top 2 players from Reborn over there. Now, just as a quick reminder, what's going to be going on for the rest of this competition, right? We did just play map number 1. We're going to be going back to Ascension in game number 2 here. The only thing difference being goes is that these 2 teams, they're going to be switching sides.
That's exactly right. So we'll see what Reborn can do in the attack. We'll go to Ascension. And again, it's a best of 5. So you will see Cyclone today, which again is the first time we're seeing Cyclone in the entirety of this competition, including group stages. It was banned out a ton. It was never rolled. And we rolled it for finals, which is crazy to say. Could be our final map of the day, or we could go to game 5 if we can get a nice comeback here from the big boys. But let's see if maybe they could just tie it up right now here on Ascension and go 1-1. Maybe it's a defensive day. It might come down to that tiebreaker, but here we go, folks. Let's get into it. Ascension up next. Reborn on attack. Big Boy's gonna have to show us what they can do on defense. So, Vivid, let's reiterate some of the key points for this first point. What do you want to see from Reborn in order to take A and get further than their opponents? It doesn't matter if they do. They still got to win the map, but at the very least, get further.
So I'm not saying that necessarily we have a huge gap in skill yet. I don't think that we have seen enough between these 2 teams, but in past competitions that me and Goj have watched, when there has been what seemingly feels like a huge gap in the skill of 2 teams, there have been some very cool strategies on the map, specifically of Ascension, around that helicopter. Now, currently as it stands, again, Reborn has kind of come into this competition. They seem like the favorite. So I am actually going to have my eyes towards the helicopter, kind of see how they handle the situation in the skies.
Okay, we'll keep our eyes out to the skies. And of course, on the first point, the helicopter is important. You got to make sure you hide behind the mountains so you don't get just tank shelled immediately. We'll see if they can get some value on it, or at least hold it into the new points. Make sure you drop a follow on all major socials here with Delta Force. We got a ton going on, from esports on the Warfare side, operations coming up, community tournaments, show matches. I mean, there's just so many things happening in the Delta Force ecosystem. You got to stay tuned to it. You can follow them on every single social media you could possibly think about. But time to get into it. And Vivid, Reborn have a chance to go crazy right now. If they have the dominance they had on the defensive side this time on attack, this first point could go by very quickly.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's going to be scary right now. You did kind of mention that Big Boys are still feeling confident kind of coming into this thing. So could be feeling a little bit more comfortable on the defensive side of things. Could be feeling a little bit more comfortable with what they have prepared for the defensive side of things. But yeah, I mean, it's just going to be all about those vehicles, how both of these teams kind of handle those vehicles, both land and air, as we kind of go ahead and get poised up to start game number 2.
Here we go. The boat storming the beaches. Let's get after it, folks. Reborn on the attack. You can see their heli in the sky on the far left-hand side, and the boat's swarming in. A couple are going to stay outside of the map, which is our classic pro format, and the others going to go rushing forward. And let's see what value we can get for them. Immediately, the big boys targeting the helicopter, as our helicopter is elected for a different strategy. Instead of hiding behind the mountain, we're going to take way up into the sky and take a very aggressive approach. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Yeah, immediately attacking this vehicle here. Ranger is actually going to be under incredible fire right now. He's trying to look up but cannot find the vertical view needed to actually get the helicopter in his view sights, and I can't lie, an early takedown of a vehicle from the skies, from the side of Reborn. Again, something that I don't think we have ever seen before. An aggressive helicopter. Usually these things, they try to sit off in the distance, try to stay alive, try to avoid those vehicles, but instead just going right at it, attacking the problem at its root. Great strategy from Reborn right now, and it works out.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest, that kill feed was all red, which is now Reborn. They swapped sides, so if you see red, that's the attacking side. Big boy's in a bit of trouble, and this aggressive playstyle from the heli that you're talking about, Vivid, there's really only two ways to play it. You can either play extremely defensive and just shell from a distance and hopefully just drag the aggro of the tanks. Here's the other play. If you can take one out early, you can play directly vertical over the tank. This team knows how to play this flawlessly. They've done this before. Get directly over the top of the tank, and if you can't get your team to turn around with Baloo rockets or at the very least some AT-4s to shoot up in the sky to make this thing move, you get a free kill on the tank. The tank can't point vertically. It can't directly shoot above it. Very well executed, aggressive play in the helicopter. Reborn with a very strong start.
It seems so obvious when we see it for the first time. It's like, oh my god, yeah, just fly above the vehicle. It can't look directly above and shoot it down, right? Like, why have we not seen it before? I mean, I'm sure there's some counter strategies that some of our teams have prepared for something like that, but take a look towards Sector A right now. It's all red. It's just all red.
Yep. Yeah, I think the key thing is that unfortunately, big boys just weren't ready for the aggressive push, so they didn't get the comms out fast enough that, hey, not only is one of our vehicles under trouble, like, the tank had to roll out and take shots at the heli immediately, but also the skybox for Ascension is so high that if you go this far up, it is so dang difficult to hit the helicopter. So as long as you can get way up on high and go directly vertical over the lab first, they got the AA down first. The tank is a lot easier than the AA vehicle. So watch out for that. If we do see the defense pick up another lab here going into point B, that heli could go down quickly if they're not aware of it immediately. But if I'm paying attention, Reborn looking at this map, I think they're going to be aware for any strategy that the big boys throw down as they immediately cap A and are pushing it with max lives into B.
Yeah, blinking, you might have missed it there. Feels like we just started the map. That's because we did 2 minutes ago, and already Sector A has fallen. It's, you know, sometimes that's why Sector A often feels like a gimmick, because some of our teams are just so good at attacking it, right? They just absolutely steamrolled through the defensive side of things there. So now they have the momentum. They have the vehicle economy on the side of the attacking thing. And I mean, think about it for the defensive side. Usually going into B, the attacking side is very rare for them to maintain that helicopter. But now the side of Reborn, they got to be feeling good, right? They got to be feeling confident. They're going to have access to so many vehicles pushing towards B.
Jig still the commander here for Reborn. Traditionally plays inside of what I call the big tank. Gonna be playing the backside nice and slow here. They've already got some momentum. Again, it doesn't matter if they capture more. There is some moments where they can earn some advantages if we go to map 5, but it doesn't really matter if they capture more. They gotta win the map for it to matter at all. So this is a nice nail in the coffin as they're immediately putting A, but that is the first nail of many nails that need to be thrown in this coffin to actually shut big boys out early in this competition on Ascension.
Big boys, of course, turning their focus towards that helicopter, trying to go ahead and handle it. If you take a look on the extreme backside of B2 over there, right, you will see that there is a vehicle alive for the side of big boys, but it's kind of tucked away. It's actually in a little bit of a cave that has an elevator at the bottom of it. Now, why that vehicle is sitting back there is because they're just trying to keep it alive, right? This is going to be Architect back here, and they basically do not want to invest the HP of this vehicle at all towards B. They want to actually save this for the following sector. So it kind of feels like they're conceding B in a way, but they just know that this tank will find a lot more value defending the next sector than it will find here. So they're kind of just saving it. They don't want to put it in harm's way at all, which is why it's playing that extremely passive approach.
Yeah, it also has the wire-guided missiles, so it can actually basically like shoulder peek that wall with its missiles and then guide it towards where the tank was, so it could see some value. But again, can we just look at the kill feed? It's all Reborn all day, man. You see Yuzbishka on the ground picking up kills, but Dobrich in the skies just getting insane value out of this helicopter. A huge shout out to Dobrich in heli and the whole heli crew for this Reborn roster. They're getting so much more value than what Big Boys was able to find on the attack, that it is opening up this map. Because you got to remember, even if you don't find kills with the heli, just being a nuisance on the map and drawing aggro allows the people on the ground to make big pushes. In Warfare, in the esports side of Warfare, you need all of these micro advantages to stack up on top of each other, and that's how you gain a ton of ground and a ton of value on the map. And Reborn's doing that perfectly as they find B1 nice and easily, and they're rallying for B2.
Absolutely. Another cool thing about Warfare is that some of the maps do have some dynamic buildings, right? They can be destroyed. B2 is going to be one of those buildings that can find itself absolutely flattened. So you can see some of our tanks from the side of Reborn are actually going to be focusing their missiles towards this building to go ahead and destroy it, make it a little bit easier for them to go ahead and approach, because if the building's destroyed, then the defenders don't really have anything to kind of hide behind. So make them for easy pickings. And, you know, once again, the vehicle economy for the side of Reborn just looks so good. The urgent redeployment for Big Boys is going to be coming in, but it might be just a little too late.
Yeah, Big Boys are trying to throw bodies onto the point. Urgent redeployment, by the way, for the folks that don't know, is a commander ability. They utilize the score to call in urgent redeployment. It shortens the spawn timers by like what am I trying to say? Like 100%. It's way faster. You spawn it basically immediately. 10x is what I was trying to say. Almost immediate spawns back in, so you can get boots on the ground way faster, especially with the longer respawn times of Victory Unite. It's extremely useful. But it doesn't look like it did too much to thwart the attack. They've stalled out a bit on B2 because of it. But here comes Rick from Reborn getting insanely aggressive, trying to take down these vehicles. Extremely aggressive a play that's actually paying off. Our tank inside that was shooting the wire-guided missiles goes down. Reborn is reading Big Boys like a book. They don't even capture B2. They stall out because they wanted to stall out. They did not want Big Boys to have any chance for a vehicle going into the C sectors up on high, and they rotate early to try to get aggressive. What a play.
Oh my gosh, and there's actually some members of Reborn that are already taking the zip all the way up, and B2 hasn't even been captured yet. They're trying to get a very early foothold up here. Obviously, that's going to be thwarted quite quickly, but the opportunity for them was there, right? Kind of having a heads-up play, knowing that, hey, listen, they're going to have to go ahead and start playing on that C sector, right? And yeah, I mean, we've seen it before, Goj, where we have seen teams attack those vehicles that try to hide away, but I mean, that just seemed clinical.
Yeah, again, this is a team that scrimmed this map 1,000 times. They know that if they just cap that point and let both of those vehicles take the elevator at the bottom, one, they couldn't take the elevator. They have to wait like a minute and a half by the time it gets all the way down there, it feels like. And then two, the defense actually has vehicles set up onto the C sector. This is what I'm talking about with Ascension being a momentum-based map. You have to carry your momentum forward, and what Reborn was able to do that time was carry the momentum forward before they even captured the second point of the B sector, so they could go and C with every advantage they can get their hands on. Very well executed.
But we're going to kind of get this little bit of a stalemate here between the attack and the defense towards this initial little bit of a hold here. As you can see, there's a giant choke point that the defense has that definitely favors them. I'm not entirely sure of the exact timing, but the attacking side does have to wait a little bit of time before they actually have access to that vehicle elevator. Now, once their vehicles are able to go ahead and take that elevator up and start to get into the action, then that first little chokehold right there falls pretty quickly from the side of the defense. So early on here, we're going to see Big Boys have a lot of control over this initial choke point, like I mentioned, but eventually Reborn is going to be able to have their vehicles come up through that elevator and attack from the side.
Engaging!
That's a good shout. Good setup here for the defense. We'll see if the stone wall that they set up holds for long enough. We've got an attacker vehicle right on the outside that's going to actually find a lot of value through the door, picking up at least death. As a look at the map, this is what the defense is doing for the setup. We do see a flank setting up for the attackers. And Vivid, I think you called this out right before we got into this map, so I want to give you the shout on that. Watch out for that helicopter as well. They can use that helicopter as a spawn point and theoretically drop in the backside of some of these points to open up some room for the front side to actually push through. Thin the herd, thin the numbers out of the defense from the back if you're able to get the flank going, and then you can push in through the front door.
And an incredibly well-designed little area here, right? It does seem like you're entirely encased in this cave, but there are actually some openings that are featured on the top of it that do have direct access into the flank of this defense. So, you know, yeah, like Goes mentioned, kind of pay attention to see if that does come to fruition, but a little bit of an early push towards some of the sectors over here. But again, it's going to be all about just kind of waiting, seeing what value you can kind of find before the attack does have access to this vehicle. And side, and a big push kind of comes in from the side of Reborn.
Gonna full send in here. This is gonna open things up, thin the herd a little bit, and allow some of the folks to start pushing in through the front door. A great job from the big boys to pick up a lot of those revives, if not all of them, but unfortunately Voltaire will get cut down, and the defense are gonna have to back off. What a push from this team.
The knife at the end there does actually find its way towards the head of the attacker there, and Rolo actually using the bow there, and here it is, finally the access to this area. And that was such a well-timed push, by the way, from Reborn, because when they decided to full send it, they knew that the timing was separated by about 30 seconds. They actually had to clear that area out, or else those vehicles that are finding their way up towards that elevator were just going to be free pickings for any of the Alurus or the anti-tank mines that were kind of waiting. So they went ahead and cleared that area out to go ahead and make sure that their tanks did have easy access to the rest of this hangar. And as soon as the tanks kind of join the fray here, look at C1, look at C2. They are both simultaneously getting captured right now from the side of Reborn.
Yeah, such a good shout. Perfectly timed, well executed, well communicated. They've repped this 1,000 times. We don't actually make a push in. We don't sack one of our light vehicles for the first push until our tanks are ready coming up to the elevator. Well executed, and because of that, look at this. John the Bomb is reaping the rewards of it. That's 3 going down via John the Bomb, and big boys are in deep trouble right now.
Yeah, this area right now that Reborn has actually found themselves in is like a choke point that actually leads to basically where big boys would have to spawn if they didn't have any other ways to kind of spawn in, right? If they can't spawn in their squad mates or any respawn beacons, when you just naturally spawn on the map, you spawn outside of the cave on that other side right now. So this choke point being held by Reborn, nobody can make it to defend the points right now. I mean, this is just complete domination.
Yeah, but again, this is what I'm talking about momentum-based pushes. Once they made the big push, they sent the house. Like, if that push goes wrong somehow, and we lose vehicles in that transition, we could get stalled out on C here for a very long time. But you have to full send. You have to overwhelm them when you have the advantage. And down goes the entire C sector. We are moving on to new, with only a moment delayed at the front door, just waiting on these vehicles. I don't even think they lose a single one in transition. Things are looking fantastic for Reborn. Look how much value Lulsiv's finding in the kill feed. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and I'm not entirely sure if we have seen a lot from the helicopter as of lately, but when you do get to that C sector, the helicopter is kind of like null and void, right? It kind of find it's hard to find value out of it because everybody's obviously inside of this cave. It's all kind of indoors. But once you actually get to this final sector right now, if the helicopter is still alive, it does start to find incredible value. So we'll have to keep our eyes kind of peeled to see if that helicopter is still alive. Gauche, 165. Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Helicopter is alive. So, man, big boys. Rough kind of go at it right here. 165, I wanted to go ahead and point out to you, was the lowest I have seen ticket-wise on the side of Reborn over the course of the first 3 sectors.
Yeah, unfortunately, going into this final point with maximum lives, it's gotta be a win for Reborn. I can't imagine big boys can pull this one out, especially because they haven't really been able to yield a ton of score. So they don't have a ton of things that they can call in or use here to help them out on this hold. especially when Reborn has the vehicle advantage by a mile. If we can, I'd love to pre-cam one more time and show the vehicle disparity between these two teams, because it's not, look at this, 4-0. It's all red all day. This is going to be a Reborn victory. It's just a matter of time. Big boys need a miracle right now.
You basically have a vehicle for like each little sector of this point that you want to defend from, right? It's just getting rained down with explosives right now. Now, obviously, we are going to have boots on the ground that have to push towards this point to kind of clear out some of these, you know, little like head glitch spots, right? Because the medics are finding incredible value right now. But I mean, the vehicle economy, it just makes this push so much easier. Is not looking good right now for big boys.
Yeah, I mean, to Big Boys' credit, they are going to make sure, kind of keep Reborn in check. Don't overheat, gentlemen. Don't want to scam here by over-committing some vehicles that you end up losing out on. If you get stalled out here on D, it is a point that the defense obviously have an advantage on because they spawn so pretty much on the point that you're trying to capture. But look at what Big Boys are doing right now. They feel the pressure. They see the vehicles moving up. They're going to call in that urgent redeployment. So you're going to see a lot of defensive bodies on the point very quickly, be able to respawn nearly immediately, to be able to hopefully withstand this push. They feel the pressure, and they know if they can't hold this push, there's a chance they go down almost immediately, even on the last point.
Yeah, it kind of feels like an all-in. Remember, you are investing some of your score right there from the commanding side of things into things like an urgent deployment. So they are actually utilizing this very, very well, I will say. As you can see, they're kind of thwarting the push for a little bit here, but only 4 seconds left on that urgent redeployment. I'm sure things are going to start to switch over here quite quickly as some of the boots on the ground do start to find their way past that initial little threshold. Looking for some opportunities to go ahead and cut down some of the defensive side of things.
Yeah, it's a good hold. Unfortunately, Warfare is a resource game, right? And burning those resources, burning an urgent redeployment when you don't have a ton of score means, yes, you're going to sustain it. Yes, you had to do it. But you also don't take down any of the vehicles of the attackers, and they've got a lot more resources than you do. This is going to be a war of attrition that absolutely the big boys are losing. Again, still desperately need a miracle.
Yeah, obviously, we're keeping a close eye on what's kind of going down, boots on the ground and some of those ground vehicles, but it's easy to forget that whilst all of this is going on, there is just a helicopter in the skies that is like a mile up that looks like an ant from any of these boots on the ground. It is just raining down on any of these stronghold positions from the side of the defensive things. As we take a look at Vico here, who's going to be on the fire, and he's just like looking at this vehicle like, yeah, what do I do, man? This thing is just riding its way towards my flag right now that I'm supposed to be defending, but respawn. I have nothing to do. And yeah, that respawn beacon on the backside of the point right now is going to all but secure it.
Yeah, it's a perfect respawn beacon that they can actually protect from up on high. Look at the helicopter finding a crazy amount of value, like you mentioned. Both vehicles push up. They're able to protect it. They've got ammo crates back here.
Oh my gosh.
Resources as they need. Silly Cat says, try to push me. I dare you. Gonna molly down below, frag up on high, grab another muni up on top to replenish. Teammates all here with respawn. This might be the moment where they take it. They might take it in the first 30 lives, not even 22 lives to kick this one off. Reborn moving on all cylinders.
Yeah, picking up on the little things and still implementing those little things, like throwing down all of those ammo crates in one little area so that way somebody like an Aluru can go ahead and flush out those Molotovs. Like, it all just seems so well planned out from the side of Reborn, and it looks like nobody is kind of thwarting away from their initial, you know, approach to this map. They've all kind of remembered exactly what they need to do approaching this one. And you know, the first beacon did kind of fall right there and they were halfway captured. Now they put down a second one. That's just how well ahead they are in terms of score right now.
Well played, well executed, and here comes not only a team respawn beacon, but also an artillery barrage on the point to close things out, folks. Reborn started hot on defense, and they not only carried that momentum forward, it might even look more clean on the attack. Reborn go up 2-0 in this series. They not only want that spot to land, but they're going to make sure it is executed with a potential clean sweep on the horizon. Unreal.
Yeah, I did not have my stopwatch running throughout that game, but I would imagine we just got a quick little insight as to why their average attack time is 17 minutes. I mean, I mentioned it kind of going into Sector D right there. 165 was like the lowest amount of tickets that I saw going into it. I did see that they were down to like 150, 152 towards that, last little sector there, but who cares how many tickets you got when you go ahead and secure that last sector. You win the map, and now you're up 2-0 in the series.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, let's take a look at some of those replays from the last map. There certainly were some highlights. It's just a matter of, well, were they all on the side of Reborn? I think so.
Absolutely, and obviously, huge credit to our pilot here on the side of Reborn. I mean, incredible stuff here to have that planned out strategy to go ahead and just fly above some of those ground vehicles and take them out early on, because after that, it looked like the entire map was just a breeze for them. They had full control over the skies, which means that they had a lot of control over the ground as well.
Yeah, Dobridge is the GOAT of that map. There's no question he earns MVP in my mind, even if he doesn't top the scores when we take a look at him later. Dobridge, the helicopter operator, and the entire team in the heli got everything that they wanted and more, frankly. So you can see what value they were able to find early. Opened up A immediately. They kept that value. They pushed over to B early. I loved this play to push up on high, push the vehicles of the defense inside of the elevator before they go up, before they capped B2. That gave them so many advantages going into C. And then once C started, we had the defense set up, but it was just a waiting game for Reborn. They said, when's the elevator going to get here? Oh, it's here. Now we make the push, Vivid.
Yep, they knew exactly what they needed to wait for. They knew exactly what they were going to do after they went ahead and got full control over the inside of things. And it was like, yeah, Sector C fell, and, we kind of lost Sector C. All right, we can maybe hold Sector D. And then I'm sure big boys were quickly reminded, oh, yeah, that whole hold during Sector C, we didn't have to deal with the helicopter. And now that we're on Sector D, we have to deal with the helicopter. So everything was going the way of Reborn. Everything went to plan, I am sure. And as a result, it was just full domination. As you can see, some of those kill feed moments right there. Every single time I kind of take a look at it in some of these replays, it is entirely filled with red on that left side, picking up all of those kills. So domination from the side of Reborn. Like I said, 2-0 already. And Goj, Ascension is done.
Ascension is done. We're going to Cyclone next, and Reborn are the top dogs on Ascension. There's no question about it. It was like a 19-minute hold, by the way, on A, and it was like a 19-minute attack all the way through the entirety of that map. Talk about domination from Reborn. Really crushed it. Well done from the tanks. Well done from the helicopter. Well done boots on the ground. Everything was well coordinated. This team has been scrimming nonstop for months, and it is paying off in this moment, Vivid. I'm excited to see what Cyclone has to offer.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how kind of Cyclone goes as well. Obviously, I think when we take a look at how those two games went right there from the side of Reborn, vehicles look like they are obviously, within their wheelhouse of being like their strong suit. Cyclone being another map that is obviously going to feature a lot of vehicles. I'm a little bit worried for the side of big boys, but I'm sure they're still feeling confident. Again, a team that knows how to take these losses. They've kind of bounced back in series before, so wouldn't be surprised if we saw something a little special out of big boys. But then again, I also would not be surprised if we saw more Reborn domination.
Yeah, I will say, to Big Boy's credit, they are a good team. They technically held, and well, they at least forced Reborn to take a little bit longer to capture that map than their average cap time at the very least. I will also give Big Boy's credit here. Let's be very clear. Things did not go their way, Ascension, but this is still a good team. Everything can change when we go to Cyclone. Cyclone could be a map that they're very comfortable with. We haven't seen it in group stages. I don't know how comfortable Reborn is. I'm pumped to see what happens here in Game 3. We're going to take a very short break here in the booth. When we come back, it's going to be Game 3. It could be the final map of the day for EMEA. Only time will tell. Can Reborn do it again on a different map? We'll be right back in just a moment.
Everly, a Havoc recovery is on the target. Acoustic signatures match your mark signature with high accuracy.
Record their movements. I'll find them.
Target acquired. Staging retrieval.
pinpoint their location.
Guess it's up to me then. The echo of truth cannot be silenced.
Enemies, be alert!
Reveal yourselves. Found you. Oh, shocking. I make my own luck.
Warning. Control system compromised.
You want to know how freedom is made? Patience. Violence. Struggle. Evolution. Transformation. Combat. Liberation.
Take Subject 42 alive.
Welcome back to the Delta Force Invitational Warfare, folks. It's EMEA, and well, Vivid, it is 2-0 in a best of 5. That means we are on match point, match round here for Reborn to potentially take it all in a clean sweep. They go up 2-0 on Ascension. It's time to move over to Cyclone.
Yeah, as it currently stands, I don't know, Goj. We might have to rename the EMEA region to Reborn's region, because as it currently stands, I mean, these guys are just undefeated. Kind of coming into the day, they were 4-0. Taking a look at the game so far today, I mean, 6-0. They just look so good.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, I'm hearing that we may have our scores ready, so I want to take a look at how it all went down in the last rep. Let's take a look at it. Dobrich, by the way, I said, even if you're not at the top, you're my MVP. That's our helicopter operator for Reborn, was at the top. 57 kills. And what's not denoted on here, too, is just the amount of value that the helicopter got from a presence on the map, right? The amount of vehicles it killed. I mean, this is unreal from Dobrich. to not only top frag for the team, but also have that much value in the heli. Of course, Lulsiv there right behind at 53, and then all the way down. Jinx Jill, their commander, number 5 overall. Again, looking to put the value of that player as the commander, as somebody that issues order, not necessarily going for top frags or going for the most revives or anything like that, mostly playing out of a tank and playing on the backside.
Just kind of speak to, you know, how dominant in terms of their performance was as opposed to the big boys attack. Remember how we were kind of talking about how many revives the side of big boys had on their attack, right? That they only had the opportunity to go ahead and attack through sector A. I mean, Reborn were just so dominant in their attack right there that they went through 4 sectors as opposed to just 1. And looks like they had like way less revives in that category. Yeah, I mean, I guess so, right? They're just so dominant. They just kept rolling. The momentum was there, but yeah, Reborn, we know, we watched the game. They were obviously dominant, and it shows not only in how things kind of went on the map, but also on the stats as well.
Yeah, and that's a really good shout, and I'm glad you caught that because I don't know if I would have. Yeah, it's like, oh, 51 revives. Yeah, they played, I guess it's the same length of map, and they still had less revives than what Big Boy has in the first round just because they weren't dying. Let's take a look at our map rotation, though. Like I mentioned, it's time for some Cyclone, folks. It is a brand new map. It is a brand new day. Map's been in the rotation for a while, but not one we've seen in this competition at all to date. So I'm really excited to see which of these teams have good strategies for a map like Cyclone, which, Vivid, we both know is gigantic. There are jets. There are crazy things on this map. There are ways you can bring boats indoors. There are all types of stuff. So I'm excited to see what happens on our first map of Cyclone.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see kind of the approach here onto the map. Like we mentioned, it'll be very, very similar in terms of what's going to be available to both of the teams. How they obviously go ahead and handle it, we'll have to see if it's just a little bit different. I mean, you know, we're going to be featuring a little bit of water here, right? So boats are going to be in the mix. Obviously aerial warfare, right? Going to be some dogfights up there in the skies. Now, Cyclone honestly is one of those maps that, you know, I mentioned it coming into the day when we were kind of talking about the maps that we were going to be seeing. Cyclone's one of those maps that I have seen probably the least amount of when it comes down to some of these competitive warfare games. So I'm actually really, really excited to check out Cyclone because I feel like I'm going to have the opportunity personally to learn a lot, kind of see how this map goes.
Yeah, I mean, I think traditionally speaking, this has got to be the biggest map in the rotation. It is gigantic, and there's a lot of water play. So you're going to be looking out for a lot of boats. You're going to be looking out to see what the boats can get on the value side of things. It's kind of, it's very different from the way Ascension plays, but it is a similar story. It can be very momentum-based, based on vehicle advantages. It's a vehicle-heavy map. Eyes in the sky, you've got air superiority, you got water superiority, and of course you've got your tanks as well. So watch out for the vehicle gameplay, which in my mind tilts the scales towards Reborn with what they've been able to execute. Yeah, but also sometimes a map like Cyclone, which again is just way less played comparatively in the competitive scene, it could be the great equalizer. This could be the opportunity for the big boys to pull out some crazy strategy that Reborn isn't expecting, because they frankly probably don't scrim this map that much, especially compared to Ascension, which has been around since the beginning of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And just want to make one little short comparison back to that map of Ascension. Obviously, the first couple of sectors here on Cyclone could be, you know, exclusively outside. And then, you know, once again, we're going to have something, again, similar to Ascension, where you kind of go inside and you kind of lose some of the aerial, you know, sight views. And it's kind of hard to maneuver some of the vehicles towards those sectors as well. So, yeah, just changing the dynamic a little bit, but also in some ways it's kind of similar to how Ascension kind of played out. So it'll be interesting to see how our teams kind of approach this. But if it is going to be a little bit similar to Ascension, I'm a little bit worried for big boys.
Hey man, at this point it's time for them to prove all of the haters wrong. In general, both of these rosters, they did a fantastic job in group stages, but you got to remember kind of the veteran leadership of what's going on with Reborn, not only from Jinx Jill and what they've been able to do to lead this team, but also the entire roster. They've been scrimming together for a very long time. I was talking to Yellow Love before the competition started for Reborn as we move into Cyclone. Game's about to get started. And one of the things he was basically saying was like, look, some of us played over in Vietnam. Some of us made it to land last time. We had this mixed roster. A lot of us were friends. And this roster is less friends, more of a truly competitive roster. He said, and I quote, I think we're 5 times better than we were at LAN last time. Wow. With the No Mercy roster, we've got stronger tactics and much better overall understanding of how Victory Unite in general is played. A lot of these guys have thousands of hours in the game in Warfare. But for Victory Unite, it does play differently, and learning to play under that commander and utilize that score effectively is the key to success, and it looks like they've got it figured out. So we'll see if they're able to do it on Cyclone, Vivid.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like Victory Unite is just so well balanced, because it feels like every single time that we tune in now to a Warfare competition, whatever team is better usually just kind of like wins. You know what I mean? Like, there's no like defensive side, attacking side. Usually if a team is better, they win on both sides of the coin here. So as it currently stands, like you mentioned, Reborn, they're feeling confident. They feel like they're 5 times better than they were before. And they're just winning, man. They're winning on the defensive side convincingly. They're winning on the attack side convincingly. Seems like they have it all figured out. Can they win on a different map, though? We've only seen them on the Ascension so far today. Cyclone is going to switch things up a little bit. We are going to be swapping back sides, right? Reborn is now going to be revisiting the defensive side of things. Big boys are going to be on the attack.
Yeah, this is a nice pull. I don't know if one side's necessarily like heavily favored in the comp scene on Cyclone, but let's get into it. Like we said, it starts things off wide out in the open with not very much cover, especially when it comes to either air superiority or the boats that can play the outside. But one thing the Cyclone has that Ascension doesn't is jets, baby. We've got Ranger up in the skies, and we're going to be seeing a dogfight here shortly.
I myself have personally actually yet to go ahead and experience any jet gameplay. I'm kind of afraid to jump into one, right, and kind of grief my team because I'm so new to it. If I steal that jet spot, man, they're gonna be like, what the heck is this guy doing? But Ranger's gonna be jumping in. He's got a lot of weight on his shoulders right now, being kind of this pilot of this jet, because you gotta feel like, right, the jet on the attacking side is supposed to be that thing that kind of tips the scales in a little bit in your favor towards some of these early points right now. So you got to find that value. You got to help your team out who's trying to make a push. And as you can see, he's trying to keep his distance because he's afraid of some of those vehicles being able to go ahead and attack him and take him out. But if you're this far away, how much value are you really finding?
Well, we're going to take a look at some of the vehicles on the ground. Of course, those vehicles could shoot back, especially the lofts, and maybe bit off a bit more than he could chew. Couldn't get out in time. There'll be plenty of time to get another jet, but that is an early loss for the attackers yet again. Very similar to the Ascension storyline of their helicopter usage went down extremely early, just like that. And that just looks like a reps problem, unfortunately. Didn't know how close they could make, you know, an attack make any difference, or maybe overcommitted in the attack slightly, but well-timed takedown there from the defensive side.
The approach towards Sector A right now, I will say, big boys, they've actually started to attack Sector A very early on here, right? They're in the mix very, very quickly. I will say, though, if we kind of compare this to the Ascension approach, they already have less tickets on, you know, this first sector than I feel like they had on Ascension. Remember how, like, many revives we were kind of talking about they were getting, and their tickets weren't going down? They've already dwindled down to 166, which is only 14, but I'm telling you, this is a lot lower than it was on Ascension.
Can I also shout out Wolsiv picking up a 3-piece with the bow in smoke, just point blank. I was gonna say barrel stuffing, but I guess it's whatever the edge of a bow is. I mean, that was wild. Just put the bow on their face and release the arrow. Nice pickups there from Lulsiv to keep the numbers down. And you're right to call out that we're already down at 150. One of the reasons for that is just revives are going to be way more difficult on this map because it's so open, especially with how aggro the defense is playing. There isn't a high ground position that they're battling and jockeying for, you know, on the off angle. This is play on the point or lose the point. So because of that, it comes down to raw gameplay. It comes down to taking care of the medics when you get kills and securing those kills to make that timer, or rather those lives, tick down even faster. Reborn able to do exactly that right now.
Yeah, I mean, if we keep going at this pace right now.
Nice flank.
Wow.
Nice flank from Libo. That's a 3-piece on the back.
4.
Make it even more. Libo going huge.
It's plays like that have got to make the difference, right? But sometimes it's just super hard. And I was going to mention that the attacking side at some point is actually going to be able to have access to some of those aerial vehicles once again. And once again, just short-lived.
Oh, no. 2 jets down. How many more will they get? That is a bummer to start things off the attacking side, folks. I want to remind you, this is match point for our attackers. Or rather, for our defensive side. For our attackers, it's match point in the sense that they have to get a game here or they are done in this series and will take second place in DFIW EMEA qualifiers.
Anybody that's good with a build that we watch during these competitions, just it is disgusting, man. It's super incredible to see that individual ability kind of find its way to the limelight here in some of these competitions. And you know, you got to imagine how crazy some of these scenes look, and they're still finding these kills, right? Cool, calm, and collected.
Yeah, look, one thing I love about the bow is that if you're hitting your shots and you're hot, keep shooting, man. One-tapping everybody has got to feel fantastic, especially when you're able to do it through smoke. Get a couple pieces of intel, find those kills, and the attackers can't get value on this point right now. They're doing a pretty good job of respawning basically right underneath it with some of the respawn beacons they've got, but they're not able to get up onto the point to actually start capping this at all. And Reborn, again, is just decided, I mean, this is probably the strategy on point A, just body stack the point. Like, just outnumber our opponents, and if we just win our gunfights, we win the game. It's as simple as that.
I mean, Reborn is taking quite a forward position here as well. Like, they are actually extended quite far beyond the point. As you can see the breakdown on the map right here. Look how pushed up some of those green circles on that white line on the left side is going to be pretty much the average area, or that little area over there is going to be where the attackers are kind of spawning. Obviously, as I'm kind of making this point right now, the green circles have kind of dwindled, but there were actually a lot of them right on that line, right in the face of where they were respawning. So they were taking it straight to big boys, and again, it's kind of working right now because look at the tickets. I mean, we haven't talked about it in like 3-4 minutes, and they're down to 115.
Yeah, exactly. When you play this aggressive, if you find those kills, is what I was saying just a moment ago, you find those kills and you find the medics down, nobody's picking up those revives. They're trying to respawn to get onto the point as fast as possible, and blink, and we're down 65 lives to kick this one off. Like, they can't get out of their spawn, man.
I mean, this is disgusting. Like, we know that they, on the side of Reborn, they have the advantage when it comes down to the vehicles, right? So the pressure is really hard for big boys to deal with, but
no way.
I mean, Lawsev is just sniping these guys as they spawn.
He's having a dang good time with the bow on the map, man. I love it. Especially, one thing I have noticed, by the way, with this patch, you know, we've moved forward a couple patches from our Vietnam competition. We're still a patch back. We're on Morphosis, if I remember correctly, but we actually see a lot more Tempest usage in Warfare, which we didn't see a lot of Tempest usage.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons for that is because of that ultimate ability, using the extended ropes and then being able to self-revive yourself. You don't have to play with quite as many medics if you've got quite a bit of Tempest playing the Assault side.
Yeah, super annoying to kind of deal with if you're on the opposing side of things. You're like, oh man, nice, I got one. Oh no, I actually didn't. He's going to be lurking around here somewhere shortly, but a big push from big boys right now. If you take a look at the center of your screen, that bar is favoring the red side right now. So they are making a big push right now, but I can't lie, it is using a lot of their tickets. I think 10 just dwindled very, very quickly. Why they go ahead and make this push, but it's working. Sector A is now halfway captured.
Yeah, and they're pushing up the vehicles that they do have. They've got a couple. If we can free cam take a look at it, I want to compare. There it is.
Nice.
Up on point. On the backside, they lose one. The other's just an assault vehicle. They're just trying to get some presence onto the point, and they're trying to get this vehicle up here as fast as they can while respawning inside of it, and it's barely still alive. Should be able to repair that, get some engineers potentially respawning in it, but in the meantime, while they're trying to save an assault vehicle, the jet gets clipped as it goes a little too low, gets taken out, trying to evade some shots, and all of a sudden, all advantages of the attacker side completely obliterated.
Yeah, and we kind of see it, right? The coordination from big boys, it was there, right? They had all three of their vehicles kind of spawn in. They had their jet finally have access once again to the skies, and they tried to converge simultaneously with all four of those, you know, big vehicles that they had. But just Reborn, just you blink and they just handle it, man. They just handle it.
I really feel like the big miss right now is that it doesn't look like big boys have been able to figure out how to play against the anti-aircraft that Reborn has, one. And then two, these pushes, here's a look at another one. They've got a tank destroyer down in this assault vehicle. These pushes, smokes are out, but because of the Reborn positioning, how far up they've been able to play on the backside of this pillbox, they're basically getting shoved through a choke point where all of the utility, all of the nades, and all of the shelling from the defensive vehicles can land in one spot and just ensure that they find some value. Finally, we see more red than green on the point. Let's see if they can maybe finally take it here as they're down to 70 tickets.
Yeah, individually speaking, the kill feed was almost entirely red right there, when it feels like this is the first time it's kind of happened for the side of Big Boys throughout the entirety of this series. As we can see, Lolsiv is going to be putting away the bow and entering the vehicle right there, but he is going to be finding his demise right there. And whilst all of that is kind of happening on the offside of the point, Sector A, take a look at the map. It is all red, which means they're going to be able to capture it very, very quickly. But somehow, some way, every single time, it looks like Big Boys has the opportunity to capture a sector. Reborn just flood. They take everybody out. They reclaim the sector. And they're just once again in control of the map.
Yeah, I'll call it somehow, some way, but I'll tell you the way. It's called, hey, we still have a tank on the map. I mean, Silly Cat just rolls up and just starts blowing everybody to pieces. And then as the tank pushes in, all of the people on the ground for the attacker side have to turn in and at least look at it and figure out which angle it's coming in from, so they can either avoid it or try to take it down. When they do that, all the boots on the ground swarm. Everything is perfectly timed from Reborn to be able to retake here based on the advantages that they have. We even saw a moment a second ago where Lolsiv sacks a tank destroyer, sacrifices a tank destroyer to take down an assault vehicle so that Big Boys have nothing to spawn into near the point, and they don't even have a vehicle to run up on and at least draw the aggro of the defensive side. So everything going the way of the Reborn, and another fantastic retake from this team. And by the way, off screen, Vivid, I'm being told by production, we didn't even get a chance to see it. The jet spawned in, immediately gone within 7 seconds. That's the, I think, fourth jet down.
Like 4th or 5th, yeah.
Unreal.
And I won't lie, it looked like Reborn was getting a little loose right there, right? As you can see right here, these vehicles, they've been kind of hanging back. Obviously, when they do need to kind of make a push up, when things start to look a little dire, they do, but they're actually maintaining a forward position right now, right? They're trying to go ahead and make a statement right here. It kind of feels like with the way that they're kind of poised to go ahead and just hold Big Boys in their spawn.
Quick replay. It looks like our production is going to show us what happened on the backside. It's
oh
Pano.
My God, oh my. What?
That is such a sick angle. This is why you play boat on Cyclone. Usually it's for the next couple points as well, but Pano finds a ton of value, and we swing over to his POV to show even more value he's getting on main. Pano putting on a show for us, picking up the jet in replay, and then we swap to live, and he picks up the take on the backside of the attacker's lone vehicle. Look at the difference on the map. Look at the difference on the vehicle count. It is all Reborn all day. And Lolsiv, by the way, as an individual, was on 28 kills with that bow. There are so many hero plays, but it's overall team chemistry. They're the reason Reborn's walking away with this one.
Yeah, that replay was crazy. It looked like that pilot in that jet was looking to, you know, make a career change into like a barber, trying to give people like haircuts, flying so low, just giving the opportunity over to Reborn to actually go ahead and take him out. But obviously Reborn going to take full advantage of that. And as we kind of reassess what's kind of happening on the map, you know, I talked about it, the tank right side of your screen over there. It is pushed all the way into the spawn of Big Boys right now. And Big Boys, they have only got somewhere around 20 tickets remaining to make something happen, or else we are going to be having a 3-0 dominant performance out of the side of Reborn.
This is unreal, man. Everything pointing to signs that Reborn will make an appearance on land and be able to prove the efficacy that we're seeing right now against the global teams from all over the world. As Carilio picks up a tank destroyer, this has got to be the final nail in the coffin. Vivid, I don't know how many nails it takes to nail down the lid of a coffin, but this is the last one. Look at the green and the kill feed. I mean, my goodness. Utter domination.
Dominant throughout. So much so, I mean, we've got to see Reborn on 2 defensives today. Once on Ascension, once on Cyclone. They have not dropped a map yet. And as we have seen today, they have not dropped a sector on the defensive side of things. Their attack was incredibly fast as well. I mean, Reborn, they look a little too good.
They've been practicing, man. He said they were 5 times better than they were on land. They were pretty solid on land. I'm believing him, man. 9 lives remaining, and this is just formality at this point. Lolsiv's going to stat pad 34 kills from Lolsiv. 11 assists. Finding value on the ground with the bow, finding value in the vehicles. just doing whatever he wants on the map. Unbelievable, man.
Like he's in Daytona, man, just doing circles around and around and around, just firing down, picking up those kills. 4 tickets remaining. How are they going to go ahead and secure the last couple of kills that are needed? Reborn, they do it. Victory objective defended once again in complete and utter convincing fashion. 3-0.
Unbelievable. Reborn are your champions of the DFIW EMEA qualifier finals. Folks, this team Reborn has just walked away with $10,000 in a 3-0 victory. But maybe more important than that, actually, I would say for them, much more important than that, Reborn have swept their opponents and will be making an appearance on LAN in China to play against the global teams that are qualifying from all over the world to battle against each other in Warfare in Victory Unite. I'm proud of these guys. It's a big win for them. And I know some of them are excited to go back to LAN, and many of them going to LAN for the very first time. Let's take a look back on that dominant performance in the third map of the day.
Yeah, early things kicked off. Looked like we're going to be favoring Reborn once again as soon as we kind of saw the jet get taken out. And by the way, I'm sure we're going to see it about 5 more times in this package. The image of that jet just blowing up, right? Just never an opportunity for the side of big boys to go ahead and get anything going in the sky. And, you know, we talked about it. Obviously, the vehicles kind of play a big part in how these maps kind of go. But I feel like from the both sides, we actually saw a lot of individual ability, especially out of the likes of Lawsiv, finding a lot of value.
Insane, man. And again, this was the veterans versus the newbies. I want to give big boys a big shout here. The fact that they made it to the finals. They've got folks that just started playing this game 3 weeks ago. Like, that's how new we're talking for some of their players, and they're able to battle through group stages and get to this place. So yes, Reborn, they deserve all the credit. They obliterated their opponents here. Big boys still got here with a brand new team, so big shout out to them. But some highlight level moments in Cyclone, as you saw a very cool POV of the jet trying to get extremely active and getting punished for it, and that happens about 10 more times on this map. Reborn close it out, take down every single jet that finds its way to the skies, and they take care of everybody on the ground as well, Vivid.
Absolutely. And, you know, the closing moments, again, Lawsiv showing off his dynamic range as well. His ability to go ahead and obviously hop on Tempest, use the bow to kind of get in the face of the attacking side, but then also switching over to the Allure, taking control of the vehicles and finding value there as well. And that's what I feel like kind of makes Reborn scary. We haven't got to see a lot of them because the games have just been so fast, but in that short little spell, we have seen so many little like strategies, the ability from individuals to go ahead and switch roles and do other things, and they just seem so cohesive as a 20-man unit, which is super hard to do. They just look so well-rounded as a team right now.
I want to give a shout out to this region as well. It's come a long way. We've been doing competitions here with DFIW and just Warfare in general in this region for a while. This is easily the most competitive team I have ever seen come out of this region, and nothing but respect from both of the teams in the chat, in Discord. Everybody spamming the GGs, everybody saying good luck in China. Reborn is going to represent this region extremely well, and I'm really excited to see them on the main stage in China in just a couple weeks. They've certainly earned it. They've been practicing for it, and they're looking like they're in final form, my man. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, watching like moments like this and watching how dominant they are in matches like this makes me excited to see what they're going to be able to do against some of the other teams that have also qualified to that China LAN, right? Obviously, it's going to be a completely different environment, and the teams there should be stronger than the teams that they have faced regionally speaking. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they kind of stack up, how well they can do, because right now, man, I don't know who, if anybody out there can beat a team that looks as good as that.
Yeah, no, it's a really good shout, and I think it'll be fun to watch. There are some very good teams, you know, national or globally rather, and we'll hype those up more when we get to LAN. We still got some more competitions to go through and a couple more things to talk about today, though. We're going to try to get an interview with at least one of the players from this roster, this Reborn roster, here a little bit more about how their team was created and all the work that they've been putting in, which I'm really excited about. They've got a lot of love from the community as well. I've been taking a look at our chat all day today, and they've been hyping up Reborn and and big boys to that matter, everybody watching and cheering on their favorite team. But Reborn will be the team representing their region in the global LAN event. So everybody should be cheering on this Emea roster if you're a fan of this region, which I know a lot of you are. Now, Vivid, as we kind of wrap things up here, we'll take a look at scores here in a little bit and then hopefully get that interview. There's a lot of things to turn our eyes toward, right? This is the most competitive version of this tournament that we've seen yet, and it's very self-evident that teams have been practicing. But this is just the beginning, right? This is our EMEA regional finals. We've got our Americas region here coming up in several hours, a little bit later today as well. So we got more Warfare later today.
Yeah, absolutely. Excited to kind of jump into the action later on today. I feel like one thing about Warfare that is awesome is that, you know, we have this giant map pool, and sometimes it kind of feels like some of the maps are kind of favorited. But I think what is exciting about me when it comes down to just seeing more Warfare competition is just seeing some of the other maps, because, you know, we kind of see Ascension, we see Cyclone, we see some of the cool strategies kind of employed around that. And I'm just like, man, I wonder what some of these teams have cooked up on some of the other maps. So whenever I kind of jump back into Warfare, I'm just excited to kind of check out what's going on some of the other maps as well. So as we kind of look towards NA, what I'd be looking forward to the most is just kind of checking out some of the other maps. So hopefully the way that everything kind of works out later on, we can see a different map.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with our Americas region here in just a couple hours. But I do want to talk a little bit more about this team. And of course, we'll get a chance to talk to him in a second, because listen, I think a couple things that I got to ask our friend Yellow Love, who I believe is going to be doing the interview, is mainly strategy stuff. I love hearing the strategy of Warfare. Warfare is such a unique esports situation here with Delta Force, because, you know, when you take a look at the operation sides, it's pretty cut and dry. You have a team of 3 and you're playing, you know, for those mantle breaks, you're doing whatever. In Warfare, this is a very strategic heavy game. Like, obviously you need to be able to shoot straight, obviously you need to be able to do well in vehicles and have the reps, but what sets teams apart and what set Reborn apart today was the team chemistry. There's not a lot of games like that where chemistry is actually the #1 skill diff, and being able to play as a team is the skill diff. It's the reason we get to see the free cam perspective and the map perspective so often in this game mode, is it comes down to the strategy you implement. So I love that you complimented you know, this team on that, and then also commented on what strategies will we see on other maps, because it does come down to strats. This is like a giant game of chess, except it's first person perspective. It's so dang cool. So I want to hear a little bit more about that from our players, and also continue to comment on that as we get into our Americas region or otherwise. So it's fun to be back, man. This has been a blast, and I will be excited to see if Lil Civ also top fragged in that last game. I've got to expect that he did.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of was creeping up on the number of 40 kills right there, which is super impressive when you take it to account that we were only on over the course of the first sector, where there definitely was not a lot of revives kind of happening on the attacking side over there. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see kind of how the score kind of broke down. I mean, regardless of how it breaks down on an individual level, I feel like the whole team in its entirety should just go ahead and throw their score together and be like, yeah, this is how we did, because they all did it together.
Yeah, no, it was a team effort. And again, everybody fills a specific role. Let's take a look at those scores. Scores are ready. Big shout out to the team behind the scenes, moving quickly through this. Let's take a look at it. Who top fragged? Is it the GOAT Lil Civ? It was not. It was, Pano is top scored. Makes sense from the boat. Well earned on all of those jet eliminations that Pano picked up from the boat. Lil Civ certainly top fragged 38 kills on what was a very quick game.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of something that we highlighted on the first map of Ascension when Big Boys did, you know, unfortunately lose on the attacking side over there, was how good they did at actually finding some of those revives. It felt like on Cyclone, it didn't feel as good as it necessarily was, but it does look like some of those numbers are quite high over there still, like Linear Light, where they were picking up 60 revives, which I just feel like is incredible work for them. And I actually am going to go ahead and tip my hat over to the side of Reborn as I take a look at their revive column, because even on the defensive side of things, how in the heck did you guys manage to find that many revives?
Yeah,
it felt like
crazy.
you were having like a dominant performance over there and nobody was really finding any kills on the side of Big Boys, but looks like they were. But Reborn potentially just better at actually picking up those medics and kind of finding value out of them.
Well, yeah, it was something we talked about on that map because of the aggressive stance of the defense of where Reborn was situated.
Yeah,
Big Boys actually didn't have a chance to pick up that many revives. Now, to be fair, it was a very short map, and Linear Light picked up 60 revives for the Big Boys. So it's still very solid for how short the map was. but you're just not finding quite as much compared to like Ascension, where they're able to hold the backside of the hills, get knocked, and immediately smoke and get those reses immediately. So yeah, that's definitely the key difference there. But still, you're right. Reborn still picked up a lot of revives on the defensive side. Scores are fun, but talking to the players is more fun to me at the very least. It's time to bring in Yellow Love and hear a little bit more from Yellow Love about this Reborn team, man. This is I'm proud of you guys. Congratulations. There's Yellow Love on screen with us. How does it feel to clean sweep, win the region, and go back to land, my friend?
I mean, that's what we all wanted. That's why I made the team. And I think overall, we put a lot of effort to win this. And I think everyone is super happy. This time, we don't want to be 5th on the LAN. So we're aiming to top 3 at least. And I don't know. That's all right now.
Nice, yeah, and obviously congratulations to you, Yellow. That was a completely dominant performance. I did pick up on a little bit of something that you said right there. You said, when I made this team, right? So I'm alluding that you went ahead and made this team. You picked up this 20-man roster. You assembled it. What kind of went into actually assembling this roster? Like how did you find the members and the players that you wanted to be on this team?
Well, I've been playing this game for a year, so I kind of know I have the connections, basically, and I took best part from Europe, best part from Russia's side, I guess, and just make sure that everyone can play together. That was my main point, to make sure that everyone can play together, and like the communication plus the commander, Chill, or Chinks, he's super good at everything he does right now.
Yeah, I will say your commander is fantastic. And I do want to give you a shout, Yellow Love, because you got pulled over to that No Mercy roster that did go to LAN last time, right? Yeah. And so you have a piece of that roster with you. How many members of the folks that were on LAN do you know? How many of those players are you keeping versus the roster that you have now?
It's about probably half, to be honest. Half, 10 people. Because I took the best people from the LAN as well. You know, it's at the end it's competition. Last LAN was more like a friend group going there to play, but this time it's like fully focused on competition and trying to win and do our best.
So
yeah, agreed.
Me and Go just keep going back and forth on live. We're like, yeah, you know, attack side, defense side. From a player's perspective and somebody who kind of assembled a team, what do you kind of feel about the differences between the attacking side and the defensive side? Do you kind of feel like it doesn't really matter? Do you feel like you kind of favor one? Do you feel like you have more strategies on one side or the other? Like, what do you think about the difference in sides?
I think for us defense is easier because first of the vehicle, we are a lot focused on vehicles because that's how other regions play. And I think we prefer defense. But like attack is fine. In EU, it doesn't matter, right? Because we knew that we're gonna win it 100%, like long time ago. But in China, I guess we need to scrim more and see which side is the strongest against like top teams. But for right now, I think our best strength is defense.
Well, if your best side's defense, your attack still looks pretty dang good, man. Your average attack time was like 17 minutes through groups, and today it was like about the same. Really fast wins, and obviously momentum is a key difference in that. Last question for you. I know there's folks wondering, what do you think Reborn's best map is right now? I know it may change before China. You're going to scrim a lot. What do you think your best map is?
To be honest, I think our best map, probably Ascension. If the heli stays alive, then it's our best map. If the heli stays alive, we win.
Dude, big shout out to your helicopter operator. That was a crazy start. Well, final words from you, man. You can address your fans, you can address your friends, you can address your team. Anything else you want to say on the broadcast before we let you go and go celebrate with the team? Yeah, I appreciate my team. Thank you, everyone. 20 players to put together and play the finals is crazy. And I really appreciate the people, the viewers right now. It's crazy. It's like I'm 31 years old. It's my dream, so I can go LAN again. And yeah, I appreciate everyone who took part of this tournament, enemy teams as well. Like it's crazy that we have 6 teams this time. Last time it was 2 teams. So I hope to see better performance from you next time when there is a LAN. Until then, thank you everyone for amazing tournament. Thank you so much, Yellow. Very well executed on the on everything, on gameplay, on the interview. Man knows ball, and you can tell he loves this game. There is nothing like Warfare out there right now, the way it's being played. He was so right. He was like, it's hard to bring together a full roster of 20 players, let alone their 5 subs and I think a coach that they may have on the back end. Like, this is unreal to be able to pull this together and be this diligent and well executed at every stage. Even in the interview, the guy knows ball. Like, really cool stuff.
Yeah, seems like a great guy there. That's why I was like, dude, how the heck did you find these players, man? How did you find 20 people that were good enough for a team like this? He was like, dude, listen, I'm just tapped in. I'm playing. I know who's good. And yeah, he backed up and took his team straight through that victory right there. Interested to see that they did feel as if the Ascension is one of their bad maps as well. So we kind of got a treat today, Gojo, right? We got to see them on their best map, and it definitely looks like it is just that.
Practice makes perfect, man. I'm sure they've scrimmed it 1,000 times. Well, folks, that is all we have for the day. That was very quick, at least for EMEA. We're not done with all of our competitions. So, Vivid, any final thoughts here for the broadcast? I will see you a little bit later for our Americas broadcast. But for EMEA, any final words?
Yeah, again, just super excited to kind of see the Reborn team take it to the international stage. Feels like they're feeling pretty good, excited about it as well. And yeah, EMEA was a treat. Obviously, it was a 3-0, so we didn't get necessarily see as many games as we might have wished, but still awesome to see how dominant some of these teams can still be in Warfare and how strategic they can get. And makes me excited to kind of check out to see what the NA guys have got going on over here.
I love it. That's Vivid. You'll be seeing him in our Americas competition in a couple of hours. And speaking of Americas, folks, we've got a full nother stream just like this one. And I have a feeling it's going to go a whole lot longer. We've got 2 extremely strong teams, Avengers versus Innistrad Esports. You're going to see some words, some names rather, that you definitely recognize in both of those rosters. These are both star-studded rosters that have battled before. And I think this is going to be a doozy. So you're not going to want to miss it at America's competition. That is at 6 p.m. Central Time. That is 4 p.m. Pacific. In about 3 hours or so, or sorry, 5 hours. Holy cow, this game went really fast. 3-0s go by very fast. In about 5 hours from now, 6 p.m. Central Time, 4 p.m. Pacific, America's competition, another best of 5, and we're sending another team to LAN in China. You're not going to want to miss it. Before I send you off, I do want to remind you to download Delta Force if you haven't. I don't know how you haven't after competitions like this. You can get involved. All of this was open registration. Some of these players that made it to the EMEA finals started playing 3 weeks ago, folks. It is a great time to download Delta Force on every single platform out there and drop a follow on all major socials. If you want to be involved in competitions like this, you want to hear more about other esports for operations, more things happening in the game cycle, more dev updates, all of the new patches they're dropping, drop a follow on all major socials. They're constantly dropping information on those socials or in the Discord, which is a great place to get info and ask questions as well. All right. Delta Force has got a lot of great things going on, and DFIW is one of those. EMEA regional finals was a blast. Reborn is going to LAN, but America's at 6 p.m. Central Time, folks. You're not going to want to miss it. I want to give you one last reminder that we couldn't do it without you, the viewer. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in just a couple hours.
So that means they are sticking together, but whenever we kind of check out that wide view of the map right now, if any of our viewers at home are kind of paying on the point to actually do so, which is going to give the opportunity for big boys to